What's up, Penn Staters? And thanks for tuning in to the Football Letter podcast. This week, we welcome volunteer leader Michael Kozar. Michael is a 2011 graduate of Penn State, earning both his bachelor's degree and his master's degree in meteorology with a minor in math. He then earned his Ph.D. in meteorology from Florida State University. He's lived in Tallahassee for more than a decade, where he is the co-president of our Tallahassee chapter. Let's bring in Michael Kozar. Michael, welcome to the Football Letter podcast. We're so glad you're joining us. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing pretty well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So Michael, what is your Penn State origin story? How did you become a Penn State Nittany Lion?
So I was first interested in going to college for a meteorology degree. So there aren't that many schools in the country, let alone in the Northeast, that have those types of programs. And so Penn State is among the best in the country, in the world. And so they were always on my short list, went around, did a whole bunch of visits in various departments, got into Penn State, loved the campus, loved everything really about it. Waited to see how some of the other colleges fared with the applications, and then ended up coming to Penn State for meteorology. I wasn't in a Penn State family beforehand. I grew up in Northeast New Jersey, so college football isn't necessarily as big there as maybe the professional sports are. So really didn't have an attachment to Penn State before deciding to go there for meteorology, and it didn't last long that way. Went to the first game of the season, went to the second game of the season, which was that first full whiteout in 2007 was my first year. And then before the end of the year, I was camping out what was then Paternoville, and I guess the rest is history.
Well, given that you didn't come from a traditional Penn State family, how did Penn State get on the radar for you in terms of a meteorology? And when you started to learn about, the famous meteorology program here, what was it about it that initially got you interested?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so there's a lot more to meteorology than what's on TV. However, for young people in school, in high school, in elementary school, those TV meteorologists are among the most predominant in the field. And so you would hear what degrees people had. And I think there was some statistic where it's like 1 in 4, 1 in 5 meteorologists come from Penn State. So you hear those statistics. It had just a great reputation when we went to visit other schools. When they were like asking what schools you were interested in, and would always bring up Penn State, and they're like, yeah, that's a great program too. You can't go wrong. So its reputation as a meteorology powerhouse preceded it, and it was a fun time getting to tour around all the campuses around the Northeast, and a pretty easy decision in the end to end up at Penn State.
What was it about meteorology in the first place that drew you to that field?
Good question. Somehow when I was in 5th grade, I just became obsessed with hurricanes despite growing up in New Jersey. And so the 98 hurricane season was pretty active, and knew pretty early on that I wanted to do meteorology all through high school, would put together snow forecasts. And so, have always loved the weather. Even, I guess before that, I was probably more terrified of thunderstorms running off a baseball field, like when I was in kindergarten, 1st grade, whatever the heck it was. Really always enjoyed hurricanes and storms, and was one of those bad weather meteorologists that just got sucked up into the field.
So you said you did snow forecasts for who?
For our high school. Anytime there was a chance of snow, I had to go on record and project what the probability of the school being closed the next day was, which was always a lot of fun, because everyone would hate on you if you said they're going to have school or you're not going to have school, and then we ended up having school. What I didn't know at the time was that was as much of a social science as it was a natural science, because not only did you have to predict the weather, but you had to predict what people were going to do with the information of what's going on in the weather. So that's a whole part of our field that kind of gets overlooked.
Yeah, you can't really control people's behavior, right?
No.
Hey, it's uncommon, I would say, to do what you did, to earn your bachelor's and your master's At the same time, it's a lot of work, obviously, but Penn State also had that opportunity for you. You mentioned there was an integrated master's program. How important was that, opportunity for you to have at Penn State, and why was it important for you to take advantage of it?
Sure. Honestly, it was not something that I knew about going in. I think before my junior year, I sat down with somebody in the College of Earth and Mineral Science that they had as a what was his position? He was kind of like an advisor to the students. So you could kind of sit down, he would go over your schedule, give you advice on what classes to take. And I just remember sitting down and he's like, "You do realize that you can graduate at the end of this year." And it was my third year. And I'm like, I'm not really looking to graduate. I had no idea that that was a thing. And then he basically was like, there's also this integrated program. And I always figured I could end up at grad school because I enjoyed studying. I wanted to do research. I did some undergraduate research before then. And so when he kind of said that you can, typically the program lasts for 5 years, but because I took a high course load and came in with some credits from high school, was able to kind of cram the whole thing down in 4, which I don't know that I would necessarily recommend that because it was a lot of chaos down the stretch.
You mentioned, going to those first football games in 2007. That was when the whiteout was coming on board. What was it like starting to go to those games as a student at Penn State, and were you surprised at how much you got into the environment there?
No, I've always been a huge sports fan. I was just I always waited to, like, my family had some Notre Dame ties, like my grandfather, my uncle, my dad, they grew up casual Notre Dame fans, and we would always, watch them on New Year's Day, and they would inevitably lose the bowl game. I wish I could say the same this past year, but what are you going to do? But yeah, it was just funny that the first big game ended up being against Notre Dame. So I ended up coming back home with like Notre Dame shirts for my family and all the ones that you would see downtown. So everyone got a kick out of that. But I mean, I knew I wanted to be I'm a huge professional sports fan, huge Yankees fan, Giants fan, all of the above, Devils. And so when picking a college team, I didn't want to be one of those people who, would pick a team before they went to a school. I wanted to root for my alma mater, and so there are those people at Penn State who are big Pitt fans, and more power to them. But I didn't want to be somebody who let what team they rooted for affect who they chose to go to school with, since the academics were always the most important.
All right, Michael, we definitely want to get to the great things that you're doing in Tallahassee. Before that, one more
Sure.
question here about your time on campus, because you were part of the student-run campus weather service.
Yes.
How special was that, experience for you, and how big of a role did that experience have for you when you look back on your time as a student?
It was an awesome experience, and I loved every minute of being part of the campus weather service. Eventually rose to a leadership position with the newspaper part of the organization, working with I wasn't part of the collegian, but I was responsible to liaison between the campus weather service and the collegian. So it was a neat opportunity. I learned a ton about forecasting. Got to meet a lot of upperclassmen who were the shift managers when I first started out, and it eventually led to it continued my interest in weather forecasting. I eventually went to work at the National Weather Service my senior year, so it was completely invaluable in terms of the development, and would strongly recommend any person with an interest in weather forecasting on campus to get involved.
You are tuned into the Football Letter podcast. We are speaking with Michael Kozar, co-president of our Tallahassee chapter in Florida. Turning our attention to the chapter, Michael, you said that when you moved to Tallahassee to earn your Ph.D. from Florida State, that getting involved with the local chapter was really meaningful for you, and it helped you, get acclimated to that new area. Wondering, how much of an influence did the local chapter have? Like when you first moved to Tallahassee, how big of a role did they play?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, when I moved to Tallahassee, I didn't really know anyone. There was one other meteorology student who I graduated with, who came down to FSU for a semester or two early on. But beyond that, it was, you move to a new town, several hours away from home, don't really know anyone. And I just showed up to the sports bar where we met to watch the Penn State games the first game of that season, and I think it was 2012, and yeah, it was incredible. I guess it was the 2011 season actually, but getting to meet a whole bunch of people who have common interests. I mean, everyone down here was just so nice and welcoming, and helps kind of give you recommendations on what there is in the local area. Met a couple of lifelong friends through the chapter, and it's been great. People that attended my wedding, people who have gotten to see my son grow in his 19 months on Earth so far. So it's invaluable to have to met everyone, and really helped the transition, especially early on.
Yeah, Michael, new father, son Lucas, who at the time that we're talking here in late June, 19 months old. I guess he'll be he watched a few games last year then, Penn State football
Yeah,
games.
he watched. There's a picture at some point of me holding him a few days after being born, watching a game. So yeah.
You are tuned into the Football Letter podcast. We are speaking with Michael Kozar, co-president of our Tallahassee chapter. Michael, once you got involved with the chapter, what inspired you to take on a leadership role?
Sure. When I first moved to Tallahassee and everyone helped me out, the leaders in the chapter in particular, I just wanted to kind of repay the favor. And when our longtime president, Brian, moved to the Washington, D.C. area, he was a good friend, but obviously couldn't continue being a chapter president in an area where he's not living. The social chair and other leaders in our group reached out to me, and Lou, one of my current co-presidents, asked if we would be willing to help serve and keep the chapter going, and it was an easy decision to move forward with that.
So we're throwing up some photos of the chapter events here on screen for you, Michael. Wanted to ask you, where have you seen the chapter make strides over the past couple of years? Where has the group gotten better, do you think?
It's a good question. I mean, it's obviously tough being so far from State College and also being in a small city. It's not like we're in Philadelphia where we're overflowing with Penn State alumni, or even a big city out west where there's just enough people that inevitably you're going to have Penn Staters because we're everywhere. So it's a relatively small chapter, and we've tried to improve our presence on social media a little bit. Our social chair Dolores has really helped out there. We've tried to introduce some different events. And the benefit of being a smaller chapter in a smaller city is we can host dinner outs on Tuesdays every month, where we can just invite everyone in the chapter to come out to dinner at random restaurants around town, kind of support local businesses, and get to have a social event and eat some good food. So, and then of course we have all of our viewing parties, and we recently it ended up getting postponed due to COVID, but eventually we were able to meet up with that Emerald Coast chapter. And one of the photos that you saw there, we kind of met halfway between here and there, and were able to meet up with both groups and have a little auction to benefit a local charity.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Florida, other than Pennsylvania, is the state with the most alumni chapters, like 15 or 16 when I checked
Yep.
a couple years ago, and who knows how many now. It keeps expanding. How nice is that to be able to network with another chapter? How nice of an opportunity was that for you? Just also on a personal level too, just to expand your network and talk with more Penn Staters in the area.
Sure. I mean, it's great. I mean, our one of our board members, Mike, was reached out to their president, and it was great to be able to get together with them and just get to talk with others in the area. Even beyond them, this was less official chapter business, but my now wife, she was after she graduated from FSU, ended up doing her first job down at the Hurricane Research Division in Miami, and so I went down to visit her. I think it was the first football game of the season one year against Syracuse, and there's a chapter in Miami, and just walked in and sat down. And go figure, somebody working at the National Hurricane Center is from Penn State and was at the event, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come and see the Hurricane Center?" And next thing you know, the next day, my wife and I are touring around the National Hurricane Center. So, it's great to have the connections no matter where you go. We have people who are just passing through the area, people who are, visiting their kids who might be going to school at FSU, and they might not be local to the area, but they're in town, and they're always welcome to stop by and say hello. And it's great to get to meet people that way.
We're sharing the chapter's Facebook information, website information here on the screen so that you can learn more about the chapter. What types of things do you have going on in the next, 6, 9, 12 months? What are you looking forward to that the chapter's doing, whether it's with football or even beyond football?
Sure. And so during the summer months, which we're in right now, we have weekly dinner outs. Once a week, we go out to a local restaurant on Tuesday, invite the whole chapter. So we just had one this past Tuesday, and we'll have another one. I think it's the last Tuesday of the month usually. And so we'll have one again next month. And then after that, we have kind of just a fun tailgate party where we just barbecue at someone's house on the last weekend, usually in mid to late August. And then once football season starts, typically the only events we'll have is just the weekly football watch parties until we get to the holidays and hit our holiday party. But occasionally, we'll throw in some additional events in there. And then, when we hit the new year, we always make sure to decorate some cards and send them up to all the dancers at Thon to make sure that they know that we're behind them, even from down here in Florida.
That's fantastic. Is that something new for the chapter? Maybe getting involved in Thon, is that something that has helped you maybe get some more people involved with the chapter? You think?
So as long as I've been here, we've always done it. We used to partner, I think it was with the State College chapter actually, and just we somehow lost contact up there. But yeah, we basically make these cards and just get a whole bunch of markers and stickers and write words of encouragement. And usually depending on the year, we'll put together anywhere from usually it's a couple hundred cards, and we just send them up to mail call at Thon and basically say, you guys distribute these as you see fit. Make sure that the dancers know we have their backs.
So you talked about, moving to Tallahassee and the role that the chapter played in getting acclimated to a new city. I wanted to ask you, what's the connection or what's the significance for you to be able to stay connected to Penn State through an alumni chapter? Even though you haven't been able to get back to campus, you're still very much involved with Penn State, with what you're doing. What's the significance that you can stay connected to Penn State specifically through, one of our alumni association chapters?
Yeah, and it's great. Penn State was a big part of my life in an important formative time. Learned a lot of things there, met a lot of friends, and just to be able to stay connected through others down here, and even through friends around the country, it's so valuable to me. And as a huge huge college sports fan, whether it be basketball, football, hockey, it's just great to be able to get together with other people and watch the games.
All right. So if you've got an alumnus or alumna out there, what's your message to them if they want to learn more about your chapter and what you guys are doing?
Sure. I'm right now probably the easiest way to get in touch with us might be through our Facebook page, and then once we have contact, we have an Evite list that our social chair manages and make sure that we send out all of our events and all of our newsletters, and we'll certainly make sure that you're invited to every single one of our events. So feel free to reach out. Our Facebook page, I think, is facebook.com/PSU Tally, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we've got it on the screen. So if you're watching
Perfect.
the Facebook page and the website, PSU Tally, a play on obviously Tallahassee. If you're listening, PSUTALLY. We're going to get that information out when we share the episode this season. So Michael, we'll wrap up with this. What is the best part for you with being part of the Penn State Alumni Network?
It's a good question, a loaded question that can be answered in a whole bunch of different ways. To me, the most valuable part was when I first moved to Tallahassee and just didn't know anyone, and then met a whole bunch of great friends, and just to be able to interact with people, whether they have similar backgrounds, different interests, whatever. Just we all had at least some commonality with Penn State, and get to talk, and always have people in town that if you need help with X, Y, and Z, there's always going to be people here. Especially my family is living in New Jersey still, so to have people that are essentially extended family down here, that's probably the best part.
Michael Kozar, thank you so much for stopping by the Football Letter podcast. Appreciate your time. Appreciate what you're doing for Penn State and the Alumni Association. Michael Kozar, thanks so much for joining us. Take care.
Thanks.